It started subtly, as these things often do. A whisper of cold air where no window was open. The faint scent of damp earth in a room that was always bone dry. I'd wake up, heart hammering against my ribs, with the unshakable feeling that I wasn't alone. I'd scan the shadows of my bedroom, my eyes darting from the closet door to the space under my bed, finding nothing but familiar shapes. But the feeling of being watched never quite left. It clung to me like a second skin, a constant low-level hum of anxiety that made my own home feel alien. Then came the time. 3:03 a.m. Every night, without fail, I'd be jolted awake. Not by a sound, not by a nightmare, but by an internal alarm I couldn't switch off. The digital clock on my bedside table would glow with those damning numbers. 3:03. At first, I dismissed it. Coincidence, I told myself. Stress from work. Too much caffeine. I tried everything to break the cycle. Warm milk, meditation, sleeping pills. Nothing worked. The clock would always read 3:03 a.m., and the air in the room would be thick with a silent waiting dread. One night, the silence was broken. It was a soft scratching sound, like a fingernail dragging slowly down a wooden door. My bedroom door. I froze, every muscle in my body screaming. My breath hitched in my throat. The scratching continued, a deliberate rhythmic scrape, scrape, scrape. It was coming from the outside of the door, just at floor level. It sounded small but persistent. I imagined a mouse, a branch against the house. Anything but the truth my gut was screaming at me. The scratching stopped as suddenly as it began, plunging the room back into a heavy, expectant silence. I lay there until the sun came up, my eyes burning from staring at the door, too terrified to even blink. The next night, I was prepared, or so I thought. I propped a heavy chair under the doorknob. My old baseball bat was on the nightstand, its weight a pathetic comfort. As the clock ticked past midnight, then 1, then 2, my eyelids grew heavy. Sleep was a tide pulling me under, and despite my fear, I succumbed. And then I was awake. The red numbers glared at me. 3:03 a.m. The room was still. No scratching. A wave of relief washed over me, so potent it almost made me laugh. I was being paranoid. It was all in my head. That's when I heard the giggle. It was a child's giggle, high-pitched and light, but it was wrong. It was thin, metallic, like the sound was being played through a tin can from a great distance. And it wasn't coming from outside the door. It was coming from inside the room, from the corner, near the closet. My blood turned to ice. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying it was a dream, a hallucination. But the giggling came again, closer this time. It was a playful sound, a curious sound, and it was the most terrifying thing I had ever heard. I didn't dare open my eyes. I just lay there, a statue of pure fear, listening as the faint, airy laughter danced around my bedroom. Night after night, the phenomena escalated. The scratching returned, but now it was on the walls, the ceiling, moving around me. The giggle became a constant companion at 3:03 a.m., sometimes a whisper right by my ear, sometimes a distant echo from the hallway. Objects started to move. A book would slide off the shelf. A framed photo on my dresser would be turned to face the wall. They were small things, easily explained away if you tried hard enough, but I knew this wasn't my imagination. Something was in my house. Something was playing with me. One evening, desperate for answers, I set up a small camera on my bookshelf, aimed at the foot of my bed. I needed proof. I needed to see what was happening when my eyes were closed. That night, sleep was impossible. I watched the clock tick over to 3:03 a.m., my body rigid with anticipation. As if on cue, the temperature dropped. The familiar giggle echoed from the corner. But this time, I didn't close my eyes. I stared into the oppressive darkness, my gaze fixed on the spot where the camera was, its tiny red recording light, the only star in my personal black sky. The night passed with no further incidents. And as dawn broke, I felt a surge of adrenaline. I had it. I had the proof. With trembling hands, I took the memory card from the camera and plugged it into my laptop. I fast-forwarded through the hours of grainy, silent footage of me tossing and turning. I slowed it down as the time stop approached 3 a.m. nothing. 3:01, still nothing. 3:02, my heart was pounding. Then, the clock in the corner of the footage hit 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 0 seconds. The video glitched. The screen filled with static for a single jarring second. When the image returned, the scene was the same. My room, me and my bed. But I wasn't alone. Standing at the foot of my bed was a figure. It was small, the size of a child, but its proportions were all wrong. Its limbs were too long, its fingers thin and spidery. It was a silhouette, a void in the darkness, and I couldn't make out any features. But I could feel its gaze, even through the screen. It just stood there, perfectly still, watching me sleep. For 10 solid minutes, it didn't move. Then, as the clock hit 3:13, it slowly raised one of its long, thin arms and pointed a single impossibly long finger. Not at me in the bed, it pointed directly at the camera. At me, watching the footage. The screen went black. My laptop died, the battery fully drained in an instant. The room, now bright with morning light, suddenly felt colder than it ever had at night. I could feel it. The presence. It wasn't just in the room anymore. It was with me. The footage hadn't just captured it. It had somehow connected us. It knew I had seen it. And it knew that I knew. I didn't sleep in that house again. I packed a bag and left, abandoning everything. I stayed with friends, moved from place to place, but the feeling never left me. The feeling of being watched. And sometimes, in the dead of night, no matter where I am, I'll wake up. I don't need to look at a clock. I know what time it is. And I'll hear it, faint and distant, but unmistakable. A child's giggle, dancing on the edge of my hearing. It's a reminder, a promise, that it's still out there. And it's still waiting for 3:03 a.m. Thanks for watching. If this story sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the dark. Stay safe out there. And maybe, just maybe, don't look at the clock if you wake up in the middle of the night. You might not like what you see.